Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to part 2 of me grading every side in the Championship so far. Check out part 1 down below if you haven't already, but let's crack on into today's video. And we start cracking into the top half with Preston North End. Now Preston, really interesting team this season. 2 draws all season. They either win or they lose, and that sums up all you need to know about this Alex Neil side. They tend to be able to win games when they get their noses in front and struggle to come back when they go behind. I can't believe they've only drawn 2 all season, but they have struggled for any sort of consistency this season. They haven't put any sort of run together. I mean, I think they lost 4-1 away to Watford and then a few days later beat Bournemouth away 3-2. That just sums this Preston side up. You don't know what you're going to get with them. For that reason, 12th place, I think I'm going to give them a C grade. I think this is about where I expected them to be this season, as of most others. They could kick on in the second half of the season and try and crack those playoff places, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. 12th for Preston, I think, is about right. The Blackburn Rovers now, in some ways, they're similar to Preston, as I've just mentioned. Some days they are absolutely on fire, impossible to stop. That front line are so good to watch when they're on their game. Adam Armstrong's got 16 goals this season, equal at the top of the goal scoring charts, but when it's not their day, it just doesn't quite happen for them. Sometimes they're defensively susceptible as well, a bit shaky at the back, and they struggle to put any sort of run together. I mean, if you look at their last 8 games, they've only got 2 wins out of those 8, dropping down the table a little bit. I think if I'd have done this a couple of months ago or a month ago, if you take those 8 games out of it, I'd have had them a lot higher, but I can't give them any more than a C. Despite all those goals scored, they find themselves just on the edge of the playoffs, about 11th. I think that's where most of us probably would have put Blackburn at the start of the season, but they are brilliant to watch. On to Bristol City now, and if we remember in the summer when Dean Holden was appointed, expectations were a little bit lower than this perhaps, so he's done a pretty good job. But you look at this squad, it's absolutely stacked full of central midfielders, and the front two, if you look at Chris Martin and Naki Wells, are together. I like them when they're paired together. I think they're a great pairing, they can really do damage. I think this is a good Bristol City squad, and I think Holden at times has really got the best out of them. Let's not forget they won 4 out of their opening 4 games and were top of the table briefly at the start of the season. They've fallen away a bit since then, but I think this is about where we expected Bristol City to be this season, so I will give them a grade C, but there are a few concerns looking into the new year. I think they've lost 4 out of their last 5, and they've only beaten Wycombe Wanderers, who are of course the division's lowest team, so they're going to need to find some form and get climbing the table if they are going to crack those playoffs. But it's a decent squad. I think Dean Holden can get the job done. I think 10th for Bristol City is about right, so it's a grade C from me. Up to Barnsley, and Barnsley, I'll spoil it now for you, you get my very first A grade. You have been absolutely sensational this season. Let's not forget when Gerhard Struber left in early October, I think it was, they only had 1 point from their opening 4 games, and people thought they might fall apart, might really struggle to get any sort of points going, because he did such a fantastic job keeping them up on the final day last season. As it stands, they've got 34 points and they're in the top half of the table, on the edge of the playoffs. Who saw this coming? I tell you who saw this coming: the statisticians and data team at Barnsley, for hiring and looking into what Valérien Ismaël could do as a manager, because he has been absolutely superb, and this Barnsley squad's really starting to come into its own. Alex Mowatt has been sensational. I hope they can keep hold of him. Cauley Woodrow's got 8 goals and seems to be really stepping up as well. I'm really excited by this Barnsley team. If you look at Ismaël himself, 64% win ratio since coming to Barnsley, 11 wins out of his 17 in charge, and since the 1st of December he's only lost 3 league games: against Norwich, their first, Bournemouth, their third, and Swansea, their second. I don't know why I did it in that order, but the top 3 are the only teams that have beaten Barnsley since the 1st of December. Sensational. It's an A grade. You're near the top of the class. On to Stoke City, and you've just got to talk about their defence, haven't you? It's been absolutely remarkable this season. They went on a run of 6 clean sheets out of 7. I think they've got 7 clean sheets in their last 10, but it's away from home. They just set up, and it's not like they can't be beaten. They've got 6 clean sheets in a row. The last goal they conceded on the road was at the 4th of November. That is remarkable stuff. But there's always a but with this. 4 of those 6 games have ended 0-0, so they've only got a point on the road from them. Perhaps they'd like to see a little bit more going forward, and I think Martin O'Neill needs to find a bit of balance. I think earlier in the season his side were kind of gung-ho, scoring a lot of goals, conceding a few more. Since then they've been much more pragmatic, and it's certainly keeping the points ticking over there on the edge of the playoffs. For me, this is definite progress from last season, but at the start of this season I did expect Stoke to go pretty well. I think they're about in the right place, so I'm going to have to give them a grade C. I think they're performing about par at the minute. Up to Middlesbrough now, and whoever doubts Neil Warnock? Everywhere he goes he does an exceptional job. This squad, this Middlesbrough squad, I just thought wasn't good enough to get up there and challenge for the playoff places. If you looked at their summer signings, a lot of them didn't come off. They only bought in Chuba Akpom, I've absolutely butchered his name, Akpom, recently. He came in for about £1 million, I think it was, and he's done pretty well himself. Marcus Tavernier has been a bit of a star this season as well, and recently, in recent good run of form, Marcus Brown has come out from the cold and come in and played a pretty important part too. So Warnock's shown, even when players look like they're on their way out, he can bring them into the team and get them performing well. 4 wins out of 5 they're on. I think they went on a run of 10 games unbeaten earlier in the season as well, and they're decent to watch, Middlesbrough, at the moment as well. I mean, Neil Warnock, what more can you say? I'm going to give you a B grade because you're performing above what I thought you would do this season, but you've not cracked the top 6 quite yet. On to Watford now, and for me they're just not getting it quite right this season so far. I know they're in the playoffs, I know they've picked up a good amount of points, 37 so far this season. I know they've only conceded 17 goals as well, so there's no problem with that defence. But if you look at this squad, Ben Foster, Chalobah, Tom Cleverley, Troy Deeney, Sarr, Andre Gray, Glenn Murray, absolutely screams Premier League talent. I don't know why they're not in the top 2. Well, I do. I mean, the manager's not got things quite right so far. We saw Ivic go out the door after 20 games. He had them in 5th position and they just weren't getting things going. So they've brought in this new man, Xisco Muniz. I mean, he's had a decent start, I think you have to say. Beat Norwich and lost to Swansea, the top 2 so far. And I think they lost in the FA Cup as well to Manchester United. So no shame there at all. It's going to be an interesting second half of the season. But how do I judge this first half of the season for Watford? They're the worst performing newly relegated side. I think they've probably got one of the strongest squads in the division on paper. So I was looking at giving them a D, but they are doing better than that, I think. So I'm giving them a C, but it's a very, very low C, a C minus, if you will. On to Reading now. They're almost the exact opposite of Watford, or they were at the start of the season in terms of expectations. Many people thought the appointment of Paunovic wasn't a good one. I think I was one of them that questioned it, to be honest. I mean, Chicago Fire, he didn't do a great job. He did do well with the Serbian youth teams, but he was coming into a championship job here and trying to test himself. And what a start he had. Weren't they 8 games unbeaten at the start of the season? They were top of the league, won 7 and drawn 1. Then they went on a 4-game losing run and people thought the bubble had burst, but it seems to have levelled out a bit now. I think they're about in the right position where the table suggests they should be. They've done well, picking up 40 points so far. The main man has to be Lucas João. Every time he gets the ball, he looks like he's going to score. He's such a threat. Not many defenders can deal with him in the league, and other attacking options. I mean, John Swift's coming back from injury. He was so good for them last season. Elise's been good. Ejari as well. They're all coming back. They're all looking good. They're all exciting. I mean, this is looking good for Reading. I think they'll be with a real chance of finishing in the top 6. And in the first half of the season, you have to say they've done brilliantly well. I'm going to give them a B. On to Brentford now. And again, let's look back to the summer and what the expectations were for this Brentford team. I mean, I think many people thought they should be contending for promotion again, but then they sold Ollie Watkins and they sold Said Benrahma, 2 of that fearsome front 3, and yet Thomas Frank has just got this team playing again, picking up points and playing some really great football as well. Even Tony's come in and done so well as an Ollie Watkins replacement, a completely different type of player, but they're playing to his strengths and he is scoring the goals, 16 goals already this season. He should be going for the Golden Boot, and Brentford are looking good. I mean, when they lost those 2 key players in summer, I think many people may have thought they missed their chance to go up last season. As it turns out, they've done exceptionally well, still in contention for the top 2. So Brentford, I think I'm going to give you a B. On to Bournemouth now, another recently relegated Premier League team, but the Premier League team for me who came down with the lowest expectations, and that's down to the departure of their long-term manager, Eddie Howe, the man who kept them in the Premier League for about 5 seasons and led them from League 2 all the way to the promised land. Now, when he departed and was replaced by his assistant, Jason Tindall, expectations certainly came down a bit, and you marry that with the fact they lost the spine of their entire team, really. They lost Aaron Ramsdale, Nathan Ake, Callum Wilson as well. The spine spine of that team had completely gone, and expectations were pretty low, I think. So for Bournemouth to do what they've done this season and be on the brink of automatic places, I think is brilliant for Tyndall. He's done such a good job. He likes a 3-5-2 system or a 5-3-2, depending on which way they are setting up, but they've got some fantastic players. I think Dominic Solanke is finally finding a bit of confidence at championship level, and you look at the likes of Lewis Cook. He is such a good midfielder at this level. Danjuma's been really good this season. Lerma is coming into his own a bit more in the championship with a bit more power and pace than he showed in the Premier League. So exceptional from Tyndall, exceptional from Bournemouth. I have to give them an A grade. On to Swansea City, and what can I say about Swansea? Steve Cooper, exceptional. What a manager he's proved himself to be this season. They've been so good. That back three, so solid. They've only conceded 13 goals in their game so far. That is like AC Milan, Baresi and Maldini sort of stats. Absolutely ridiculous. No wonder they're in the top two and going for automatic promotion when they concede so few goals. Up the other end of the pitch, Ayew and Jamal Lowe, he's been really good signing, I think. They're scoring the goals. I think Corey Smith was another great signing. Was he a free from Bristol City? What a signing he's proven himself to be. But Steve Cooper again has blended these players together, and this squad is playing some really excellent football. It's good to watch. He's such a good manager, isn't he? Steve Cooper, what a pick he proved to be. Since they lost Graham Potter, bringing him in, he's taken them to another level, I think. And Swansea, you are my first A-star grade. Well done. You are top of the class as expected. You surprised loads of people. Not many people thought you'd be challenging for automatic promotion this season. I'm delighted for you. Steve Cooper, incredible. Jamal Lowe, Ayew, exceptional to watch. A-star. On to the final team, league leaders Norwich City. Now they've picked up 47 points this season. They're 4 points clear from the chasing pack, but cast your mind back to summer. It was a completely different story at Carrow Road. Their relegation from the Premier League was almost embarrassing. I think they lost 11 games in a row, beaten every single week. I think Buendia was sent off. There was another player sent off in the final game. They went down like a burning house. It was an absolute shambles at Carrow Road. Yet Daniel Farke kept calm as he always does. He knows his players. He knows he had a squad that could compete in the Championship. They also sold Ben Godfrey, went to Everton. Jamal Lewis went to Newcastle, but they've kept hold of Cantwell, Buendia, Timo Pukki. This team has come together really nicely, and they're playing like they did 2 seasons ago. The goals might not be flying quite as heavily as they did back then, but they're winning those games by 1 goal, just as they did 2 seasons ago, and that is what wins you titles. 47 points on the board for them so far is brilliant. They're looking really good contenders to win the title and return to the Premier League. Norwich have been fantastic. I think there's not that much that's going to stop Norwich winning the Championship this season, to be quite honest. They've been so much better than a lot of the other teams around them. They keep ticking over. They've got the experience, they've got the players, they've got the manager, they know how to get the job done. So I think Norwich, I mean, the shambles you were in summer, I know you're a relegated Premier League team, but I've got to give you an A-star as well. Norwich and Swansea City, my only A-star grades. Please let me know down below if you agree with these grades. Have I got your club right? Would you get yourself higher or lower from the first half of the season only? Please let me know down in the comments below, and like and subscribe. If you haven't seen your club, they would have been in part 1, so please do go and check that out. But for now, guys, that is it, and I'll see you on the next one.